everybody. Welcome to another open mic podcast. It's been a little while. Believe it or not, I have a guest that was my very first guest on my very first open mic podcast. Now, before I go any further, if this is the first time you're watching, I just want to explain that open mic means anything can be discussed. There are no rules. We just go wherever the conversation goes. And I'd like to welcome back Kevin Quigley.
Hey guys, great to be here. Great to be back in Boston.
Yeah, exactly, because you were here.
We're in an this is a historical building. I believe they killed a lot of British people here, folks, and they felt no remorse.
Is that right?
Women, children,
well,
dogs.
I did say it was anything you wanted to talk about. So.
This is American history here. We love, and we get along with them now. But honestly, I met a British guy when I was in Paris. They said, "Oh, you're going to go to Paris. They're going to be so mean to you because you're an American." Everyone was very nice. I think that most American tourists are just very disagreeable. No one wants to be around them. Uh-oh, we got a phone. Continuity error.
Wait a minute. So
dead air.
When I interviewed you in January of 2020, I believe that was our first show. I think you were going to Paris.
Paris.
Because
I
you were
probably
just
gotten back from Paris.
Right?
I did bring jeans to Paris.
What a memory I have.
My former lover, Calypso. Shout out. We're gonna clip this. And we're gonna send it to her. And we're gonna put in the back. We got blue. I was gonna wear a blue shirt today, but then I remembered we got the blue here, and my hand's gonna disappear.
You didn't want to over blue.
We got the. Well, we don't want to because we're gonna go on the computer and make this, something fun.
Do something. Maybe put a
we could make it the
scene
Eiffel
of
Tower.
Paris.
We could make it Abu Ghraib, where that British lady. Speaking of the Brits, she was putting the cigarette in the guy's testicles. Do you remember that?
You know what? It escapes me. Even though I remember you were going to Paris, that particular detail.
Abu Ghraib was a CIA black site where they tortured Iraqis.
Okay.
In the name of our country. We should mic Dave in the studio. You see, you guys don't understand it. We're making him laugh.
Quigs. So here's the thing about Kevin Quigley. He's a comedian, if you haven't noticed already. He did comedy here in the Boston area. Then he went out to LA and got a taste of that, which is different. Yeah. Correct?
I'll tell you, there's a lot less Dunkin' Donuts, as you see. I'm repping the brand. In LA, there's only a couple of Dunkin' Donuts, and I got to be honest. As far as like Dunkin' Donuts bathrooms where you can safely OD and be brought back to life via the miracle of Narcan, they don't have as many options as they do here. You got to be doing more like Jack in the Box.
So if you're giving advice to someone from LA in order to figure out where to OD, in LA, you're better off with a jacket.
They already know. The weather's great there. You can just OD on the side of the road. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to LA. It's quite an open-air fentanyl policy. Now, I've personally never done fentanyl on purpose. I was more of addicted to nitrous. You ever heard of that?
I have heard of that.
Yeah, right. It's a Whippets. They got it at the dentist. I was not doing the medical grade quality, though.
You got it at the dentist?
No, I'm saying they have it at the dentist.
Oh, they have it at the dentist.
I was generally not doing medical grade quality. I was huffing that smoke shop. The Galaxy gas, if you remember, all those teenagers were crashing their cars.
Now, let me ask you something. Why that over something else? Like, why? Cheaper? Is it cheaper?
No, it's not cheaper. I blew through an entire IRA. I owe the federal government $6,500 in penalties. $20,000 down the drain.
We are on a roller coaster.
I could have had a wedding.
Hang on.
I mean, I've never felt more undesirable and unattractive in my life. I'm going to tell you.
Right now? Because I think you look
I got
great.
nothing. I didn't mean, because women are attracted to a guy who has his life together, unless she's like a real fucked up woman.
And you don't want that.
The kind that you maybe meet in rehab. I never did well. I've been to rehab like 6 times. I never got with any rehab girls.
Really?
Because they're attracted to the guy who I give the artifice of someone who has their shit together. They're attracted to the guy who's really headed 100 miles into a brick wall.
Don't even worry about
Party foul, Mazel Tov. That was my cellular device you just heard hitting around.
All right.
It's okay, it's cracked.
I dictate everything now like an old man because my screen is so cracked.
Let's dial back. So when I met you 5 years ago, you were actually doing almost the exact same thing with your iced coffee.
I was, yes.
Yeah, and we were talking about comedy, and you were talking about going out to LA.
If you're sober, you're allowed to drink coffee at any hour.
Oh, yeah, I know,
that's the
but
rule.
I don't know how the sleep works and all the caffeine.
It doesn't
works,
work.
but-
I rolled out of bed at like 2 p.m. today, folks.
Oh, boy.
And you know what's funny? I'm looking. Are we cutting?
No, you just got to fix your microphone.
Like this?
We're in a hold here.
We're having a little technical.
Don't cut this part out. This
Don't
is
you
this
dare.
is honest. People need to know about audio equipment.
Oh, shit. It bent inward. Oh, it's because. All right.
Okay. So, like so many other people, LA wasn't really what you had hoped it would be. Am I correct on that?
Well, I mean, it was about what I could have expected it to be, but I did develop. I mean, I was already kind of, a degenerate, drug addict, alcoholic before I moved there, and it's a great place to exacerbate those kind of problems. I'd never even tried nitrous prior, and they sell it at every head shop. I mean, they sell it at every head shop here, but they're open 24 hours there.
What's a head shop?
Like a place where you buy your vapes and your bongs, and
Oh.
they got a cottage industry about selling these tanks, which they're technically like legally not allowed to sell it if they know that you're inhaling it, but it's also sold in a place that only otherwise sells things that are inhaled, such as smoking apparatus, vapes,
So, let me ask you something.
fake marijuana. That's
When
big
you
now.
flew out to LA, did you know anybody? Did you go with anybody?
I went with my ex at the time.
Okay, so you went with your ex, and that probably triggered.
She wasn't my ex at the time.
Of course not.
No.
Because why would you go with if you was not dating?
I don't know. People in California are nuts. People
So,
usually
is
have
she still
breakdowns
there?
and then go. No, she's here. She's
Well-
living her own private life. So we're not gonna put her on the blast.
Okay,
We're
no,
not gonna
there's no
drag
need
her
for that.
down
No,
in
no.
her good graces. She's doing a lot better than I am, I assume.
Well, you're very self-deprecating.
No, I think like if you looked at it on paper, though, she's doing better. I believe she's got a career and a boyfriend, and
A career and a boyfriend?
that's from what I understand.
You mean like an income?
An
Wow.
income. Speaking of which, I'm looking for a job, right? And this is confusing. I'm looking for a job, okay? He knows. And I'm
Yes.
on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, they have a term they call unicorn. And I'm also, I'm a single guy in my 30s, and I'm trying to get my rocks off as well. So I'm on this app called Field, one of the dating apps. And that one's more focused on just degenerates who don't want an emotional attachment as much. So on LinkedIn.
I bet you do very well on that app.
No, terrible. I don't get
Oh,
any.
okay.
Probably because I'm mainly out in the burbs and girls in the city. You need those. I don't overlap with the geographical range of the Cambridge, Somerville, Allstonites who are depraved and they might be polyamorous, which is gross to me. But I'm beggars can't be choosers. Don't look a gimp horse in the mouth. I always say that's a king pun for you guys. And anyways, so on LinkedIn, the term unicorn means a small company with over $1 billion in funding. But on Field, a unicorn means a single woman who wants to get fucked by two people at once with no mutual attachment. So you can imagine going between those two. There's quite a bit of confusion.
I would think that because on the one hand, you're thinking you're going to be hitting it big, and it's all like going to happen, and then.
Then on the
well,
other
you're
hand, you
not
also
hitting
think
it
that you're
big,
going to be
but,
hitting it big. I mean, that's.
Well, you're very open about your situation. I know a lot of people aren't.
I'm open.
So.
I'm open, like a lot of those girls on
Oh,
Field are
Jesus.
open.
Well, so what's working?
They don't say they say they're partnered. By the way, straight people they say that I'm partnered. It's a little bit it's a little bit dicey. I'm like, okay.
I think it's dicey too.
I mean, gay people were oppressed for like 1 billion years until like 10 years ago, and now straight people just want to go around saying I'm partnered. Like, okay,
Yeah, I know.
you're encroaching on their
Everybody
territory.
wants to get in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been to you said it yourself. You've been to rehab about 5 or 6 times. Now, what do you think is working now?
Working now,
Because you're sober now.
I have no money at all. I got nothing. I'm at zero. I can't. This was a very expensive
How'd you
habit.
get that coffee? Did you steal it?
I got this coffee on a pittance from unemployment.
Okay, all right.
And
Well,
I am
that's smart.
applying to, in case anyone from the fucking California Employment Disability Department or whatever is watching, I am applying to jobs, okay? I'm on there. I'm putting it in the machine. I applied to 15 jobs yesterday, and they're...
Why, are you going back to LA?
No, it's just because I was previously employed in that state. I have to
Oh,
collect
gotcha,
unemployment
gotcha.
from there. Maybe I'll go back.
Okay. So now that you're here,
Maybe I'll go to Madrid. I hear JetBlue has direct flights now.
how the in God's name are you going
I
to get
got
to
the
Madrid?
master. I just told you a
can't even
second
get-
ago.
You can't even get you barely
I
get
have
a coffee.
$250 in my travel bank because I was supposed to go back to LA and then I had to go to rehab. I went to this place called RCA in Danvers. Trash, guys, terrible.
Terrible?
I mean, it's for the mass health people, the public, you know. And we could put RCA Danvers using the computer. We can computer that back here. Dave, computer? We're going to do it later. Right now, you guys are seeing it, but we're not.
Okay, so that was trash. Where else did you go?
I went to a detox in Worcester called The Haven, and they're great aside from the fact that they did not properly file my FMLA paperwork, so I was not legally protected from getting fired from my job. So kind of, you know, they were pretty great aside from like the most important part. So that's why, you know, I'm on the old ump. I'm an umpire.
Now, listen, so a lot of people who do comedy often have hardships. It's common, actually.
Yeah,
Is
no.
this part of your...
I thought I was raised in a strictly religious family. Then I moved to LA. Every other comic I met was raised in a cult. They said, oh, my family was religious. They said, oh, it must have been weird when you turned 18 and met someone of a different religion for the first time. I was like, oh, no, you know, I had Protestant neighbors. Congregationalists, we don't hold that against them.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Right,
you
Dave's
made
in the
it through that.
studio thinking, I can't believe this guy was mingling with those disgusting Congregationalists. You had to, because that's where the middle school dances were.
Absolutely.
If you wanted to get grinded on,
so to
when
speak.
you were 12, no, I mean, not so to speak. That's what was hot at the time. They'd play She Hit the Flow, She Hit the Flow, and you'd get, you know, you get one of the earlier erections in your life.
So you're writing new material.
I'm writing a lot of new material.
Excellent.
I'm coming out, and I actually, because I was in rehab, I have what I call rehab material, but it's not necessarily all about the subject of rehab. It's just that I was, you know, I wrote a lot, then I wasn't able to get on stage and practice it, so I have this back queue of material, and I'm getting on stage, honestly, here, like more than well, not more in terms of quantity, but more in terms of quality. Like in LA, I might get on a, you know, a showcase, but it would just be like a bunch of comics and then like 2 drunks who are regulars at the bar. And I'm still grateful. Some of those were a lot of fun. There was the old Sunset Rooftop, and then there was another place called the Universal Bar and Grill. Used to get up there a lot, but these were not places that honestly had an audience. I don't want to besmirch them too much since they were the only damn
People that
places
took
in
you.
town that were willing to. But yeah, no, here, you know, people I know who I started out with have a lot more sway now. They're running real quality shows. Where was I? I was at the Back Bay Social, which was a great spot. They had for a Thursday night. They had a ton of people there. I had a really fun set there. I was at Democracy Brewing downtown Boston, and I just remember, like, Boston comedians are so much better than they are out there, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if it's an East versus West thing. I mean, I think the LA comedy scene is diluted with a bunch of people who want to be actresses, want to be models, they want to be,
there's sort of multi.
they want to be porn stars, they want to be the unicorn, but on camera, and you know, they're dabbling. And I think the multi-hyphenate thing is actually great because, you know, I was being invited to help people with their pilots, and it's more, I think it's easier to kind of get like sketches together, find someone who wants to write a pilot with you, or, you know, I just like volunteered to work on these people's pilots. I believe they're like going back and forth. I don't know. I didn't sign an NDA, but I don't know if they want me to talk about it. But very talented friend out there, JP Putin Ventil. I think I'm pronouncing it right. He was one of the people that grew up in a cult.
Wow.
So watch out for that guy. Talented.
Yeah. No, but
That
when
they.
I met you...
Think he's a they?
When I
Think
first-
they're a they?
Hello. But when I first met you, you had written a screenplay. And you had also written, I believe...
I have a pilot. I don't know.
Oh, a
the full
pilot, that's it. And then didn't you send it to SNL or send something to SNL?
That was a packet, yeah.
And they kept
honestly, I don't know about kept. I have no way of knowing if they kept it.
No, but that's kind of the cheesiness of it. Like you put your hard work in and write something and send it to a place like that, and you don't have anything.
Well, that's like the same thing as me. You know, I work in tech, and I'm not going to out any of my real employers. But like, if I go on LinkedIn and I apply to like Google, you know, it's the same core concept of like, I don't really even expect them to view my application, but it's the principle of putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And I would like to kind of get into this. I don't even know. I remember it was like end of May, beginning of June, so maybe I missed it this year. But I kind of was a little bit of a evangelist and encouraged people in the Boston community to participate in this. And like I saw a few people, I think, who may have otherwise not submitted did.
Oh, good for you.
And then, but it's an excuse to technically you sign a thing saying like, oh, this is now the property, and Lorne Michaels is going to come in your dream like Freddy Krueger and stab you in the chest if you, God forbid SNL didn't want it, so God forbid I make this sketch with my friends and put it on Instagram.
And make some money,
No, make zero money.
Make zero money, yep.
Yeah, my 1,200 followers aren't moving the needle here. There ended up being a whole controversy about this where like Michael Shea went on some tirade where he was attacking some no-name comedian who took issue with the policy. I remember that was funny. Michael Shea, one of the hackier famous comedians.
Okay.
I've never heard a story of someone being like, I went to see Michael Shea live and he put on a great show.
I haven't either.
It's always you hear like, Michael Shea, he actually is pretty terrible at stand-up in real life. We're trying to get viral moments here. I'm trying to get attacked by Michael Shea just like, because he apparently likes to attack people who have no sway or anything. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to get, Open Mic Podcast is now going to be Michael Shea's enemy of the state.
What's going on with the hair?
What's going on? I think I'm growing it out.
Are you?
Because I can't afford sunscreen, so I just sort of want.
Like, I didn't know if, like, we're due for a haircut or you were growing it for a man bun. Are you going with a man bun?
I'm not going to go. Well, maybe if I'm in a wedding.
Maybe if you're in a wedding.
None of my friends are getting married, and I think the ones that would be would not. They're not close enough to have me in the wedding.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever be in a wedding again in my life.
Were you in a wedding?
I was in one wedding. My good friend. I'm not going to name drop him because he's a successful anesthesiologist at a well-known hospital in Boston. So, he doesn't need to be, again, no one needs to be dragged down into this. I know there's not a lot of podcasts like Theo Vaughn or whatever. He'll accidentally say the name of one of his childhood friends and then they bleep it out.
What is
even if it's just the first name, just to be safe.
What's the fascination with him? I don't get it. I don't think he's that funny. I don't think he's that good looking. He actually said on camera.
I think he's actually a pretty handsome guy.
On camera, he said, I think I'm an 8 out of a 10. Who says that?
Well, if you're rich and famous, then you obviously go up like 2 points.
I guess you go up. Well, like Bill Belichick.
At least 2 full points.
Right?
Yeah.
Bill Belichick
I think it's so
gross.
funny with like Bill Belichick or even like Pete Davidson where people are like, couldn't you believe it? I was like, yes. He's rich and like, it's like there was like a South Park episode that was, all these men were like, they went to Obama and they were asking him like, why would Tiger Woods want to cheat on his wife? But Michelle was in the room, so he had to pretend. It's like, all these men who are broke being like, I would never do that. I would date a woman. But you've never been a billionaire.
Yeah, exactly.
So have you never heard the phrase absolute power corrupts absolutely? Like,
Yep.
I feel like if I had $1 billion, my likelihood that I would do whatever I wanted and cave to my most base of instincts, because, the guy's got, 7, 8 Super Bowl rings? Who's going to tell him no?
Well, she's not, definitely.
No, I mean, who knows if they actually have sex? You don't know what's going on.
I know.
I think she just wants to, get a blue check. Well, now you can pay $60 a month for the blue check.
I think she's just putting something in his sports drink. And
in his sports drink?
Yeah.
So you're saying that Bill Belichick, the most successful person in the industry of sports, is drinking the generic brand Gatorade sports drink that they sell at at BJ's?
You got me there.
I remember I went over to this people's house once in high school, and we were on the cross country team, and their mom bought cases of sports drink. It was actually legitimately called that, the Kroger brand or whatever.
Sports drink. But anyway, so so how long have you been back here?
I've been back here a few months.
Okay.
I was living in a sober house, which is very embarrassing. We circle back into that unattractiveness. They say in order to manage your mental health, you need to share a room with 2 men in their late 40s. That's what's gonna, you should wake up in the middle of the night because they're eating chips loudly.
Okay.
That's what we need.
Hey, that's free. That's a freebie right there.
Forget Prozac. You just need to.
You just need to.
You need to sleep in a college-sized bed.
So how does that work? So then you get released, you graduated?
I was in a treatment, what they call IOP, or first it was what they call a PHP, which is all-day treatment. So it's basically like being in rehab, and then you're in IOP, which is a few hours a day. And then they basically, once that, your insurance is, sort of paying for it. And then once that ends, they say, okay, well, to continue staying in this house, you need $1,200 a month, which is like basically that's like living in a 3-bedroom in Cambridge. Or,
It's certainly
you
not
know,
a small room with two
Yeah.
middle-aged men.
the
I'll
whole
tell you
house was 15 people, and it was clearly a house that was designed for like 6 to 8.
that. Okay. Okay.
So I mean, and I don't want to denigrate what works for other people. I know I sound sarcastic, but there were people there who had been there like over a year, and they really got their life together. And it's kind of funny that people have to pay rent for this thing that is obviously doesn't seem worth it. But a lot of people, once they finally do get a job, is when they move out because they're like, oh, I can't really be in this environment where I'm being woken up in the middle of the night by bullshit now that I have a real job.
Now that I have a real job and money coming in. So what are your goals? Like, obviously, you've always loved tech, so you're still looking at
No,
jobs
I
in
don't
tech.
love tech. I fell into it because it was a means to an end.
Oh.
They told me I would make a lot of money and be happy.
Oh.
Which, I mean, compared to the average in America, I was earning pretty well.
Okay.
You live in LA and there's mansions in the hills that you can see at all times. You don't really feel like you're ever making that much money.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, when you see like 3 McLarens while going for a walk down the street. You see a lot of those cyber trucks too, which is great. That's like the new
It's like
Hummer.
a moving, like, office? Is that what
It's
you're
like a moving micro penis is what it is. I see every single person driving a Cybertruck has those like wraparound sunglasses, you know, like they're
Oh, yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
there's no frame at the bottom, and they're like,
Like they're going to go skiing? Or like,
yeah, like they're drinking the full quart of Gatorade or whatever.
or
And-
sports drink?
Yeah, sports. Well, no, they probably have to flex. They're probably drinking Body Armor. Let's be honest. I like Body Armor. I don't want to besmirch the brand. I try to avoid simple sugars, though. I'm on day 2, no carbs.
Day 2, no carbs.
No carbs. That's why my arms are looking
I know,
great.
look at that.
I don't know, I think it's just, this must be a fisheye lens. I got the most skinniest noodle arms.
Not in this, not in that frame. You
Yeah,
look good.
fisheye. We're on a fisheye. We got a teleprompter here, but there's nothing on it.
I know, we don't have a script.
People think I'm going off. I've actually read every single word I've said tonight. We've been reading it. ChatGPT is churning out all my comedy. I'm a hack.
No, but okay, so let's get back on track.
I
a
think
little bit.
artificial intelligence is actually really cool. And when it comes to technology, I mean, I think it should be avoided. I know people who write jokes on using it, and I think that's wrong. I think
Yeah.
that's wrong just the same way that
Stealing people's jokes.
Oh, I was going to say the same way that, like, you know, creating art or a child writing his essay, or not child, but like a teenager writing their essay. And that's wrong, but I think ChatGPT is very interesting for an assistant. Like, even as we know, we got to plug it, Boss Mama.
Boss
Wakefield,
Mama.
Massachusetts,
We're
Main
getting
Street,
there.
Wakefield. You guys remember Fangs?
Yep.
Yeah, no, that used to be a great spot, but they committed credit card fraud, so they had to go. And now we got Boss Mama, which is great. It's you pour your own beer, which thankfully I'm not still drinking, because that pour your own beer dynamic.
Is that-
I mean,
is
I
that-
have one sip of beer and
that
then
a trigger?
guarantee. No, it's not a trigger. It's just that. Am I still good? Am I still good?
It's still good, yeah.
David, we got to mute that. We're
Da-
good.
David.
David, we got a lovely producer, and David, and no, it's just that I have one sip of alcohol, or any substance for that matter. I can't really control my intake for the rest of the evening. So when you're pouring your own beer, and it's also like when you order a beer, like especially if you're doing a closing tab, you know, you like one at a time. But it's not like individual beers. Like technically, I could be like halfway done and then fill it back up.
Yeah.
And then I did this at a wine bar. I've never done that, and then it ends up just being a $200 night, which is great for business.
So listen, so Boss Mama took over the Fangs location, and Boss Mama is David, although I call him David, Galini's family, who's the producer
David,
of, director and producer of this show. And so what Kevin,
He's the one who's putting all the fun things on the computer here. We should make it Boss Mama. Let's make it the flyer for the show. There we
That's
go. Now we got the promo.
there it is. Now, did you put that flyer together? Because it looks amazing.
Oh, I used AI for the flyer.
No, but it looks good. It looks
That's
really
good.
good.
Well, you can thank the machine, which
I'll
is
thank
sort
the
of a
machine.
god in a way,
No, but okay, so
because you're trying to appease this entity. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like a rain dance.
it's called Mom's the Word,
Mom's the word.
which is so clever.
Yeah, I came up
And
with that. By
I
the
love
way.
that.
That one wasn't AI.
That wasn't AI.
That's
was,
another thing where
that
I
was you,
say,
Quiggs.
ethically, I have no job and I cannot afford $200 for a graphic designer to make us a flyer. So I'm gonna, I cave and I use the Shat. I call him Shat. You know, he's French. He's like my little French assistant, like a butler.
That's fine.
ChatGPT.
But anyway, what he's producing is every Sunday night throughout the summer, correct?
Throughout the summer for now, and then if it's a success,
Yeah, we'll see where we
may
go with it.
continue
And it's, Sunday night, come down to Boss Mama, and free comedy. So you can't beat that. So
And you know what's great about the way that this beer dynamic works with the comedy is that, obviously it's a smaller venue. We don't have servers working every table, the way that you would. But, a lot of times I've been to comedy shows, and a lot of people complain about this. They don't come around and give you enough drinks to enjoy the show. So you can just get drunk at your own volition and laugh at the people. And then,
well, everybody's funnier.
yeah, and show up to work hungover, whatever.
Whatever you want to do.
The thing's over at 8:39, so you got plenty of time to drink water.
You do.
Or not. Stay and support the business, local
Well,
business.
I've been doing some comedy here locally at the Knights of Columbus, and what the bartender said to me was, you need to give the audience a chance to get another drink, go to the bathroom, do whatever before you start.
Yes.
So they can have their whatever cocktail hour. But I often have someone do an open mic. They've never done comedy before, so they'll try to do 5, and then I hire another comedian, and then I go on. But in between that comedian, I used to just go right on. I think because I was nervous.
What were you doing, a 40?
Yeah.
I've never done 40 in my life, believe it or not.
Oh, you'll get there. Once you get
Well, I
get on a
could.
roll-
I don't think it would necessarily be good.
Well, I think that's
It would
the
have
other-
highs and lows.
But I think that's the other thing about comedy, and you and I have talked about this before, is I'd rather be killing it for 30 minutes than be
You don't want
so-so
dry
for 45.
spots.
You know what I mean?
But at the same time, it's like in order to build an act, you do need to do these 40s, and then I think the general rule of thumb, and it works no matter what the length of your set is. It's like that new stuff that you're trying should be between 50% and 75% runtime. So you do tried and true for the first half.
Yeah, and then try your new stuff.
Squeeze in your stuff, and then close with a 25% chunk that's tried and true.
That's been tried and true. Yeah, for
so,
sure.
So you're doing a 5-minute set. You want to work in that 90 seconds or whatever. You're doing a 40-minute set. Then it's it's 7 to 8 minutes or whatever. But yeah, I've done 30 a couple of times, so I wouldn't
I
be
believe it.
too scared if I had the opportunity to do 40. I just know there would be dry spells. One thing I noticed is every time I've done 30, I worked out. I'd be listening to my recordings. I know I'm doing this guy. What am I? This is anachronistic. Do you know the ASL now accepts this as phone? It used to always be this, but now both of these are acceptable. Would you say pronunciations? No, acceptable signs for phone. Why are you laughing? I'm educating you on.
Well, right, because normally it'd be like this.
This is inclusive. I'm educating you on the disabled.
I love it.
The disabled.
We're covering so many topics.
Anyways, I'd be listening to my recordings, and I'd be like, all right, this is 90 seconds long, this is a minute long, this is blah, 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 and I'd make try to be very astute about it. And then I have this whole list, and then I think the first time I did 30, I kind of hid, I just put it on the stool so I could try to write in big handwriting.
Yeah.
And I know some people who legitimately just do their hand. Because you can be making a joke and you can kind of just be like, and people don't notice.
Yeah.
If they don't know that you're doing that ahead of time.
Right.
But
So it
then I
starts-
ended up not getting through the whole list because when people are in the room and actually laughing, it generally pads the runtime a bit.
Yep. So the doors open it's open all day, but the show starts at 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when I used to run things at the old Melrose Knights of Columbus, I would I'd say doors at I think it was show 7:30, doors at 7, and then people would think that meant they were supposed to show up at 6:30.
I know.
And I'd be still putting tablecloths on.
Yeah, no, I know, because I wouldn't have gotten the idea without you and Matt Finikas. I wrote to him and said,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try doing the Knights of Columbus because that's a
El
genius.
Greco, that's what I used to call him.
Well, believe it or not, we're getting to the end of our beautiful show, our beautiful, multifaceted, all over the place roller coaster ride with Kevin Quigley. So here's the thing. Welcome back to Boston.
Thanks.
Meet me at Boss Mama on Sundays.
Hey, you at Boss Mama? Is this going to be released before the first show?
I
or?
think so, yeah.
Oh, okay, we got the poster. Poster put on the computer.
And hopefully the very next iPod. Hello.
iPod.
iPod. I'm back to this.
You know, that's where the word comes from, though.
Podcast.
Well, podcast is a pun on the combination of iPod and broadcast, and now no one uses iPods anymore, but the word podcast is still.
Anywho, the boss mama, Wendy DeMeo Galini, is going to be my guest for the next show. I know. It just goes on and on. But anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing you on Sunday.
I'm looking forward to seeing me on Sunday as well. I see my reflection in the
You're
beer
so
tab.
humble. It's so fantastic.
Yeah, I know.
I can't wait to see what the hairdo ends up being.
I'll put a little bit of wax in there.
Whoa.
Yeah. Wax on, wax off, as they always
You
say.
got a good lid, though. You got a nice thick head of hair.
I agree.
All right, we got to end this. Okay, thanks
All
for
right.
watching.
9/11 was an
Good
inside
night.
job. Take it easy.
Don't listen to